These bills help treat the symptoms of the disease, but they do not fully address the disease itself. And while I continue to support these bills, I will not support separate actions that worsen the underlying disease of division infecting our country.
That right there is Senator Kyrsten Sinema putting on her most gravitas-laden tone so that you know that I'm serious. I support these bills, and by these bills she means all the various attempts to stop insane, out of control voter suppression that's been passed in a number of different, generally Republican-controlled states, as well as takeovers of county election boards, changing the role and powers of the Secretary of State, effectively making it more difficult for people to actually participate in American democracy, and easier for Republicans to overthrow the results of elections that they don't like. She supports those bills, except that she is unwilling to do anything to actually get them passed. So you get to decide for yourself what that support is worth. But effectively, what she is announcing in that speech, and we'll give you more, is she is, again, not going to do literally anything to reform the filibuster. She's not even going to demand that they filibuster when they filibuster. It's just all free. And so we'll have more of her explanation there. But Brett, what are your initial thoughts?
It is so, I agree with her that her actions and what she supports does not treat or cure the disease. And the disease is disfiguring. It causes mutations and really disgusting side effects. And that disease is when people get elected pretending to be one thing, a voice of the people, and then the same people who you see in photographs with a ring that says F off, suddenly when they think they have to give their big voting rights and protect America speech, show up before the Congress, before the Senate to make speeches with their Jesus cross out of their shirt and their breathy affect, and then have completely metamorphosed into somebody else. Someone who, instead of fighting for the people they said they were gonna fight for, instead they defend the moneyed interests that they actually care about. There have been so many amazing moments. Like, she has in the past been wildly against the filibuster. Like, she has. She's a different person now. You've changed, bro. You've changed.
Yeah, well, and she's changed fairly rapidly, because as Public Citizen points out, we're old enough to remember a whole month ago when both Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin voted to make an exception to the filibuster for the debt ceiling. That exception, that carve out for the debt ceiling vote is one of literally dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times that the filibuster has been changed and amended and altered over time. Over a long period of time, but not as far back as they like to pretend. Joe Manchin literally just stated that it's been around since the Constitution was written. That's simply not true. Honestly, he seems fairly ignorant. It's possible he doesn't know that. It ain't in the Constitution. It's just a rule, and it's a rule that's been changed so goddamn many times. But anyway, she has more to say, trying to make her case, or I don't know, gloat in front of the donors. I don't know what the point of this speech is, but here's what she had to say.
The debate over the Senate's 60-vote threshold shines a light on our broader challenges. There's no need for me to restate my long-standing support for the 60-vote threshold to pass legislation. There's no need for me to restate its role protecting our country from wild reversals in federal policy. It is a view I've held during my years serving in both the US House and the Senate, and it is the view I continue to hold. It is the belief that I have shared many times in public settings and in private settings.
Okay, so first of all, the fake "I'm about to cry" quaver to her voice is so incredibly condescending. Stop pretending that this is like some honest thing. My long-standing support. No, you didn't. You did not support the filibuster before. You have changed over time. Stop pretending that this is you revealing some long-standing, deep, passionate commitment you have to some rule that you don't seem to actually understand. But before we move on with more criticism, I want to make sure that we understand one thing she did there, because unless I'm wrong, she didn't use the term filibuster. She keeps using this other term, the 60-vote threshold. So do you get the sleight of hand that's been done there? It is no longer about a filibuster, because a filibuster, of course, is supposed to be, if you believe in tradition and all that, an active thing that is done. You filibuster by actually literally filibustering, the definition of the word. You keep talking, you hold the floor, and you hold potentially the attention of the nation. And that can be good for you if your position is just, but if not, it would be damaging for you. But we don't have that anymore, according to her. We have a 60 vote threshold. So you do not need to filibuster. And by the way, you don't. You just haven't had to for literally years and years. Just everything only gets passed if we get 60 votes to avoid wild reversals in policy. And so instead we have the status quo, which is no policy for anything that ever gets passed. No reversals, also no versals. You never do the first thing, so how could you possibly reverse it, Brett?
So first of all, the definition of filibuster is to act like a pirate. So it doesn't mean to talk. It just means to act like a pirate. It's an
I
old
would accept that.
Dutch-rooted word meaning to act like a pirate, and that is accurate. You take here's the flaw in her logic is that we need such a majority of Americans to be in favor of something that it translates to the Senate being 60% in agreement on a fact. That is not the case. That would be awesome. I would be for your whole filibuster thing potentially if the people's opinions were reflected in Congress. But no, the reason that they want to change these voting rights laws and other laws, other policies in America is because 80, 90, 70, 55 to 60, in many cases, 70-ish% of America is in favor of a policy, but it doesn't even meet the 51% threshold in the Senate. That's what's messed up. That's where her logic breaks down, because when she's saying we need to have more unanimity and we need to have more agreement in Congress and unity, America's behind you. America's never been more united. It's the thing, and the thing they're most united against is you failing to represent most people's opinions in policy. That's why we're mad.
The division is between regular people and their elected representatives.
And the reason that she changed it to 60 vote, we have cloture. This is cloture reform.
Yeah,
cloture is what they're talking about, and no one knows what the hell that is. Cloture is like saying, instead of playing the basketball game, let's just decide who won. Let's just do a forfeit. Filibuster is let's play the game. Let's hear you filibuster. I want to hear what you have to say when you're talking against voting rights. I want to hear what you have to say when you're trying to charge grandma and grandpa more for prescription medication. That's what I want to hear you say it. Because I have video of Ted Cruz literally reading Green Eggs and Ham on the Senate floor when he tried to filibuster something. Yeah. And it's ridiculous. And it's
why does she not require that? Why does she not at least require that they actually filibuster?
Aaron Burr is responsible for the original filibuster. She's against Aaron Burr.
She has no interest in the tradition. So the tradition is that you actually filibuster. Oh, one of the traditions, by the way, for literally decades was that to break a filibuster required 2/3 of the Senate. It wasn't 60 votes, it was 66, or technically I think 67 votes. So why did they lower it? Why not put it back at 67? I mean, that was the tradition. Or if you admit that if you can lower it from 67 to 60, why can't we lower it to 59 or 55?
Yeah,
or 50. Why?
And here's why. I'll answer your question. It's because 60 got too annoying for senators. Senate, that's it. It got too annoying. They're like, all right, this is ridiculous, even for us. And that's the problem, is the senators have such a high tolerance for stupidity and wasting our time and wasting our good faith and wasting our votes that it takes that much to change it. Yeah. And one way we can make life annoying for senators is to vote against the ones who are against cloture reform, and to vote against the ones who get into office like Kyrsten Sinema and then completely change their positions in ways that are counter to why we put them there in the first place based on their promises.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we've raised now several, I think, good questions that she does not address. She doesn't also address the fundamental question of why a party can take control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency and still be unable to literally do a single thing. I would love to know that, why she thinks that She's talking about the radical reversals. Why is it not possible for there to be any reversals? Like if over the course of multiple electoral cycles, the people clearly shout out, we don't want the Republicans in charge anymore. So we're gonna give you the House, and then the next time we're gonna give you the presidency, we're gonna give you the Senate. Hell, we're gonna do it by giving you 2 seats in Georgia, which you didn't think was possible. And we could do all of that, and you still can't pass a single thing. Why is that acceptable? But she doesn't explain that. Despite, as Ari Berman points out, her and Manchin represent 2.8% of the US population. 2.8%. But they're in charge, and they are effectively in charge.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.